everything movies, TV, and geeky related. So let me be your geeky best friend and share all that love with you. Today we are doing a discussion on Sony's latest attempt at continuing their Spider Universe cinematic universe thing. You know, they're trying their best over here. It's the movie Madam Web. And let me know if you have seen this movie before. I'm going to get a poll going. Sorry, this is my first time on this YouTube live thing. This is pretty, oh, here we go. Start a poll. What did you think? So let me know when I put down the polls, like, what did you think of Madam Web? And just so you know, there will be spoilers throughout this review and discussion. So if you haven't seen Madam Web yet and you care about the spoilers, probably skip this and then go watch the movie and then come back to it. But if you have seen it, what did you think of Madam Web? Getting the poll going right now. What did you think? It was good? Was it good, or was it just or is it just awful? Or maybe was it aight? It was aight, just fine. There we go. Poll begins now. All right, so I believe that whenever you're talking about a movie, you should mention the good and the bad. And even the worst movies, which, you know, I will get into, have some good things about them. And Madam Web is no different. So let me look at my notes here. First thing I appreciate about Madam Web was the diversity. I like the fact that it's mostly female actresses, like leads. There's two women of color as the leads. And, you know, I appreciate that. We need more women, need more people of color leading these big blockbuster movies. Or, you know, this movie won't end up being a blockbuster, but they're attempting it. And I appreciate the diversity. And I would love to see more of that. So that's a good thing. Great job, Madam Web. Keep being diverse. We need more of that. Another thing I liked about Madam Web was the how they use her powers. Like, so Madam Web, for those of you who don't know, she can see into different timelines. She can see mostly in this movie, at least, she can see into the future. And I liked how they did it, where she's just hanging out around the city, you know, going to work or just hanging out at her home, and reality like resets itself. It like sends her back in time. It was trippy. Like, she says she can kind of travel through time. I don't know if she can travel through time, or at least to the past, or if she can just has like a hallucinogenic vision of the future that she's like living through it. But how they did that throughout the movie was actually pretty cool. And there was one part where the vision, like, it was like a jump scare thing that definitely did catch me. I leapt out of my seat at that at that part, and I was lightweight embarrassed because there was like four other strangers sitting by me, and they all just looked at me like, dude, you tripping? And I'm like, I am tripping a little bit. I scare easily. But that was really cool. And I also liked how whenever her and the three girls who eventually become the three different Spider Women, she uses the power to like predict what the bad guy is gonna do, and then, you know, she like moves around it. So like, oh, in a few seconds, a rocket from a firecracker is gonna pop off like at this spot, so I'm gonna get the bad guy to stand right here. Like, things like that. That was really cool. I liked it. Was very creative on how they used the power. Didn't really save the movie from being completely boring, but, you know, I'll get into that later. The next thing that I really liked, and it's the only thing I liked, was the inclusion of Ben Parker. And I thought, like, it was always speculated that Uncle Ben, like when he was younger, was going to be in this movie. But it was cool to actually see him. And then, you know, he talks about meeting, you know, that special someone, that the one, you know, the one, and we all know it's going to be eventually Aunt May. But then you also meet Mary Parker, his sister, who's pregnant with a baby boy that we don't know the name yet, but, you know, all of us Spider-Man fans, we know who it is. And so it's just how they were tying in Spider-Man, the Spider-Man lore, the Spider-Man family into it was really cool. I appreciated that. It gave the movie a bit more potential to do something great. But in terms of pros, that's that's kind of all I have for Madam Web. But let me know in the comment in the chat what things did you actually like about Madam Web? If there's anything, like it can be something as simple as like, oh, I liked the jacket she wore in that one scene, like even something like that. Real simple. Let's take a look in the chat. Like anything at all that's good to say. Cool. I don't see anything good happening about this movie. It's okay. Let y'all feelings be known. But let's get into the next thing. Let's talk about the cons, because there's a few, and like I don't know where to start. It's just this is not a good movie. Like, dear Lord, like what's happening? Like, I already knew it was going to be bad. Like when you see the trailer, it's one of those things where you see the trailer, you know it's going to be bad. You go into it expecting to be bad. I'm ready. I'm bracing myself for a bad time, yet it somehow still shocks me by how bad it is. Oh, excuse me. The first thing that you immediately notice is the dialogue is horrendous. Like, people don't talk like this. It was just, as soon as it starts off it's showing Madam Web's mother from the past, and she's in this rainforest studying spiders. And, as soon as they start talking, I'm just like, oh, geez, they did not put any effort into this writing. Like, well, no, let me correct. That's not fair. But whoever wrote this script, I don't know. Like, I'm not a professional script writer. I don't know what it's like in production, like when you're actually writing the script for a movie. I don't know how many people are involved, or if someone who's like the head of the studio keeps like intervening and like demanding changes. So like, I'm gonna give the writers of this movie some grace, because like I don't know the process. Like maybe they had an amazing script and then some big wig up top looked at it and was like, nah, change this and this and this to appease themselves. So maybe that's the case. But regardless, the final product that we were given is just pure yuckiness. Like, I can't stand it. Don't want to deal with it. Every time someone talks, I'm just like, it's amateurish. It's as if I wrote the script. That's kind of what it sounds like. It's just real basic. It's a first draft. That's what this script sounds like. And just the dialogue, you can hear it when people are talking, and you're just like, no one would even say that. And there was one line in particular that made me mad, and probably years from now I'll think it's funny, but there's a joke that Madam Web, her name's Cassandra, makes to Ben Parker. Like, he's talking about potentially leaving Queens and moving out, and because it's getting really rough in Queens, and she's like, "Oh, what? You don't want to get shot in Queens?" And I'm like, "Oh no, girl." They knew that. I don't know if that was like a haha, look at this attempt at a joke we're making at Ben Parker getting killed in the future, but it's just like, that's such a traumatic event for all Spider-Man fans, the death of Uncle Ben, and for them to just casually just insert that joke. I don't know if it was just meant to be like just a dark humor joke, or or I don't think they were trying to be disrespectful, but that's personally how I took it. And so I'm like, I didn't need none of that. So whoever wrote this script, they don't let them, or at least don't. The whole of someone could Nazarene. I imagine if that's what they meant. I think so too. But like in the moment, I was just like, I didn't like that. Maybe like ask me a few days later, I might think it's funny now, like, haha, Uncle Ben dying joke. But in the moment, I was still very defensive of him. I'm just like, no, we love Uncle Ben. We don't want him to die. We know it's necessary, but I'd rather him not die. And for them to joke about it, I'm just like, I don't think you people are cool enough to joke about Uncle Ben dying. You have yet to make a good movie ever since the first Venom movie, when you decided you wanted to do the cinematic universe. You don't get to make those jokes yet. You got to earn that rep. But so there's that. Another thing was the acting was also pretty awful. And once again, I want to give grace to the actors, because Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, Isabel Merced, they're all professional performers, So they obviously know what they're doing. So I'm gonna put most of the blame on the direction because I I read a comment about this movie that said Dakota Johnson, who plays as Madam Web, she's acting like she has a gun pointed to her head. That's what this comment said. And like I was thinking about that going into the movie because I read a review before watching the movie, which I don't recommend you do. But when I was watching, I'm like, oh, she for sure is. Like just the way she's delivering the lines, like it seems like she's bored. Like she absolutely hates being in this movie. Just her demeanor, the way she gives off her lines, just the tone of the lines, even in emotional moments where she's like broken down thinking about, you know, the death of her mom or this power that's suddenly sprung upon her. Like she's supposed to be freaking out, but she just seems, oh, I can see the future now. Oh my god. And I get it. Maybe that's why the script's so bad because they knew that Dakota Johnson wasn't into this at all, and they're like, "Well, let's just write her character to be boring and just annoyed and not good with people." It was rough to watch. And then the main villain Ezekiel Sims, who I'll talk more about later. I forgot the name of the actor who plays as him, but also the same case. It seemed like he was just giving a, a generic performance of what a villain is supposed to be like. I'm evil and mysterious, and I also don't want to be here, but they're giving me a paycheck, so here I am. Um, but once again, I think that at the end of the day, that's on the director because I know these people can act. Like Dakota Johnson's a great actress; she can do it, but give her a better director. I think that's just me though. Um, I also another issue I had with Madam Web. Oh, hello, Empty. Thank you for stopping by. Another issue I have with Madam Web was the costume design, and well, mainly the costumes of the Spider Women and Ezekiel Sims. Like they looked yucky. I know some people like it because they're very comic book looky. They're very comic book looking. It's very much straight out of the comics, but it's just sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't. It looks these costumes look too goofy, especially with the way they film the scenes where you see them in costume. It's the background's very blurry and it's doing a lot of weird movements, and it's disturbing. It was disturbing to look at it. Um, and it just looks stupid. Like you got to modernize it in a way. I know like the MCU doesn't always hit with their costumes, but for the most part, they look very comic booky, but also really cool. Whereas these look like something you'd see on a CW show, with a television budget. Like I know Sony has money, like, put a little bit more in the thought behind those costumes. And also, it's not really much of a costume, but they made Sydney Sweeney wear like this schoolgirl outfit. And I know she's a grown woman, but in the movie she plays as a teenager, and it was just kind of too schoolgirly looking for me. It was creepy. I didn't want to look at her. She looked like Megan. That killer robot from that movie last year, Megan. Like that's what she reminded me of. She kind of looked fake, and that was disturbing. But mostly the Spider Woman's costume was my main issue, and then Ezekiel Sims' costume, the evil Spider Man in this movie. It was just like, nothing really special. It just looked like an old Spider-Man costume that was black with some red like lit linings throughout it, and that it could be cool, but just how they did it, I wasn't impressed by it. It was very bland and boring. Um, but speaking of the Spider Women, I was very disappointed in the lack of Spider Women because the three girls, they're never actually Spider Women in this movie. Only in like flash forward sequences when the main villain Ezekiel Sims, he has visions of the Spider Women murdering him, and those are the only times where you actually see them as their alter egos. And I think in total it's about like I'm gonna say like a minute and a half of screen time with them in costume using their powers. But for the most part, they're just regular teenage girls just running around, just trying not to get murdered. And that was boring. And let's see. What's up, IC Cool? Did they mention or show any of the Sony Spider-Man? No, they did not. They did not show them at all. But they like briefly mention like, oh, Mary Parker is pregnant with a baby boy, but like that's as far as it goes. I'll talk more about that later because that was another issue I had. But back to the Spider Women, like they're not utilized at all. Like you don't know how they get their powers eventually. Like it doesn't tell you how they get their powers, and so this is especially confusing for people who don't know these characters. So you don't know how they get their powers. You don't know, like, because like one of them uses gadgets. You're like, wait, what's the whole deal? Like you don't see them. They're just regular teenage girls in this movie. Besides like a minute and a half of flash forwards, that's it. And that was whack. And then Madam Web herself, and I know I complimented them earlier on how they use her powers of seeing the future and like, keeping themselves safe from the bad guy. But in but other than that, she can't do anything else. Like she doesn't have, the spider agility, the spider sense, the super strength. She can't stick on walls. She can just see the future, and then otherwise she's a regular person. And so like that led to a really boring finale. Like, every superhero movie, follows a similar formula where at the last bit of the movie they have the final battle. But this wasn't really a final battle. It was just like Madam Web and the three girls just running around all over this exploding building, and Ezekiel Sims slowly walking, trying to murder them, like he's Michael Myers or something. And there's this part where Madam Web, she like taps into like her full potential of her future sight powers, and like, there's, all three of the girls, they're like in different points of the building, and they're all about to die, like whether it might be getting caught on fire or they're falling to their death, whatever. And she like starts levitating and like giving off, like creating like multiple versions of herself that all rescue the girls. And she's just like floating there in front of Ezekiel Sims, like, I'm this all-powerful being. And he does, and I'm just like, oh dang, what's she about to do to him? Like something's about to pop off. She's gonna, blow him up. Is she gonna revert him back to his past self? Like, is she's gonna make him extremely old? Like, what is she about to do? She just floats there staring at him, and he walks up and just punches her in the face. Like, that was it. That was her big power that she was striving to reach since the beginning of the movie. Like, that's all she did. And then how he dies is she just like is predicting, where all these explosions are going to happen. So she just slowly crawls to a specific spot, and like an idiot, he walks to the spot where he wants her to, and a billboard falls on him, and he like falls off the building to his death. And that's it. I'm just like, what? It was boring. Like, even bad superhero movies have at least interesting final battles. Like Daredevil, the Ben Affleck one, that's an awful movie. But that final battle between him and Kingpin, played by Michael Clark Duncan, by the way, it was beautiful. It was fun. Awful movie overall, but that was a good fight at least. This was just, I'm just sitting there in the theater like, that's it? This dude who supposedly has these ancient spider powers, who's, presented to be this seemingly unstoppable force, he just falls. He just falls to his death. Like, it's pathetic. And that's the other thing. Ezekiel Sims, I didn't understand him as a villain. And like, once again, if you haven't read the comics and you don't know who he is, you don't know what this dude's deal is. Like, the way this movie presents him is nothing. Because like his entire motivation for this movie is that he wants to kill these three girls because he keeps having a vision of them murdering him in the future. So the only reason he wants to kill them is so they don't kill him. And that's fair. Like, I wouldn't want I would probably go after someone who is destined to kill me. I most likely wouldn't try to kill them. I'd probably be like, "Hey, do we have problems? Do we need to talk about solutions?" But anyway, he just wants them to not kill him. But the whole movie, he keeps stating like, "Oh, they're gonna destroy everything that I built," and I'm just like, "What have you built?" Like the movie, at no point does the movie tell you what he does. Like all you know about Ezekiel Sims is that he killed Madam Web's mother. He has spider powers. He's rich. He's kind of rich, and he lives in an apartment. Like, what have you built? It's a one-bedroom apartment. You have an NSA lady working for you, I guess. I guess that's a company. I don't know. I don't know what. You don't know anything about him other than he has spider powers, he's rich, he wants to kill these girls. That's all. That's all there is to him. And that was really annoying. It's just like, why are you even here? Like, what's the deal? And then, he was like a D level version of Spider-Man. He wasn't really powerful. He wasn't too powerful. He kept getting hit by cars. Like, I would say that is an entertaining part of the movie. Every time Ezekiel Sims got hit by a car, it cracked me up. And he would get hit hard by a car. Like that was the only way they can fight him. Hit him with a car. Like, if I had to take a drink for every time he got hit by a car, it'd be about 3 drinks. Not a lot, but that was just the common way of him getting beaten. And this is a pathetic villain. And so my final issue is just, you don't know where Madam Web is supposed to go. Like each movie, like, with the Venom movies and even Morbius, as stupid as they are, even though personally I really enjoyed the first Venom movie, they at least tell you like where they are going in the grand scheme of things. Like, people rip on the Morbius movie and how, oh, excuse me, the Vulture shows up out of nowhere and it's like, we need to find Spider-Man, and Morbius is like, I don't know who that is, but cool, dude, all right, let's do it. This movie, it doesn't do that. Like, it doesn't mention at all that it's in the same universe as Morbius or Venom, even though, like, I'm assuming it is, but there's no mention of that. There's no focus on, like, Madam Web at no point has like any vision of Peter Parker being Spider-Man. Like she's solely focused on the Spider Women, and when she glimpses into the future, she sees her and the Spider Women protecting the city. So it confuses me because I thought Spider-Man was supposed to be the central focus of the movie, but when how this movie presents it, it seems like it's not going to be Peter Parker that's the focus, but these 3 Spider Women who we have yet to really know anything about. And like, if they're gonna go that direction and just focus on these Spider Women instead of Peter Parker, like, okay, that's fine. Like, I honestly would respect that because they're trying to do something completely different from other cinematic universes. Like, that's fine. But the movie, it doesn't tell you. It's just like, hey, in the future there's gonna be Spider Women, and it's over. That's the end of the movie. And I'm sitting there like, that's not cool. Like, you gave us no reason to really care about these girls. Like, I want to, I love Spider-Woman. I love the different versions of Spider-Woman. But this movie didn't make, like, I didn't think they were cool. They didn't do nothing. They were just running and hiding the whole time. And like, at no point did they get their powers. They don't have any cool fight scenes except in the minute-long flash forward sequences. Like what am I supposed to be excited about? Like, Sony, what are you trying to do with this? How is this supposed to connect to the other movies you made? Because, like, I know, as far as we know, the plan still at this moment is to create a Sinister Six movie. So far we only have 3 of the villains, and then Craven's coming out soon, so we still need a couple more. And it's just like, why? If you're going that direction, if you're going towards a Sinister Six movie, and that's your Avengers, then why just randomly insert Madam Web into this? Like, what is she supposed to do? You're like, Sony, they didn't even give us just like a little thread to connect us, even though the poster of this movie says her web threads connects her thread connects them all. Or they're like, no, it doesn't. It just connects to herself. Like, that's this little whole movie. Like, I feel like is this, like, I'm pretty sure this is a standalone movie, like just how it's presented. And it's, oh, at least with Morbius, like, as bad as that movie was, like, you know what, Morbius wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but it wasn't it was it wasn't good. This is not a good movie, but at least that gave us something to connect the movies. Like, they quickly mention Venom. They have that, as I'll be stupid, end credit scene at the end of the movie, but this is just like, nope, we're done. I'm all done. I'm tired. But end of Madam Web. And I'm sitting there like, well, what am I supposed to get out of that? What are we supposed to do here? And the more I think about it, the more I'm sitting here talking about Madam Web, I'm just getting angrier and angrier. So it's just like, okay, official rating, Madam Web is softer than soft. This is moist. Yeah, a moist rating. This movie is moist. I don't like it. I don't know what they're doing. It just makes me angry. It's not the angriest the movie has ever made me, but I'm still visibly upset. But, I'm going through the comments here. Yeah, it's whack. It is whack. I'm sorry, Ice Cool. It's a whack movie. I was really hoping going into this that there was going to be something redeeming about it. And like there are stuff that I did like about this movie, but it wasn't enough to save it. And I really hope that Sony either just gets it together and really sits down and can figure out how to tell a compelling story if you want them, and how it can connect to the other movies, or just give the rights to Disney. Just give all the rights to Spider-Man and all the Spider-Man characters to Disney, to the MCU. As much as I hate for a company to have a monopoly on a property, I also don't like companies wasting a property too, because Sony is doing the Spider-Verse no justice. At least we have the Across the Spider-Verse movies. Those are great. That's what they should stick to. Keep those up. Maybe do one more of those. Finish that trilogy. Then sell all the Spider-Man rights to the MCU. Because what we're getting right now isn't it. So, well, that's all I got. Let's take a look at the poll here. See what did y'all think of Madam Web? Oh, yep, mostly awful. Oh, we got looks like one good. We got some good, 22% for good, 56% for awful, that was expected, and 22% for aye. So, if you voted that this movie was good, or even just aye, I respect you. I'm so glad that this movie did something for you. I hope that it made you a fan of, the character and geeky culture in general. Superhero stuff is really fun to get into. Just personally, for me, this movie it's 2 hours of my life that I'll never get back. But that's all I have for you today. Thank you all so much for stopping by and talking with me about Madam Web, just hearing what I have to say. And if you enjoyed this review, you want to see more like it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Let me be your geeky best friend. I'll see you around next time.